What is up, guys? So this video is going to be on the state of cold email in 2024, and it's going to be a bit of a banger, and I feel like it's going to give a lot of you guys a lot of clarity, because I think there's a lot of horse shit out there when it comes to the high ticket space in general. Client acquisition and cold email is no exception. There's a ton of confusion. Does it even work anymore? What about deliverability this? And our Google's, cracking down. And there's so much just noise and FUD, shall we say, fear, uncertainty, doubt being spread, and all kinds of just ridiculous things that have been said about not just cold email, but just in general, right? Just there's so much kind of misinformation in this space. Now, these are genuine insights that I have from being in the trenches for the last 18 months. I'm tapped into a lot of sources when it comes to have been taught by the best in the industry. I'm actively running cold email and getting results for myself, my own agency, and for clients previously. So I book 15 to 20 sales calls per month for my agency using cold email. It's always kind of been a steady Eddie type thing for me, where it's like, because I have this skill set, I know that I'll never go hungry in terms of not having any calls in my agency. I do have other methods of acquisition, but cold email has always been a bread and butter, and it's sort of given me a lot of peace of mind because I have this skill set and I took the time to learn all of this properly. I have booked in the past 20 to 40 sales calls per month for previous clients. Now, I want to be very clear. I do not run cold email anymore as a done-for-you service for my clients. I run it for myself, book calls for myself. But the reason I don't do it for clients anymore is I'm going to get into it in a second. There's many insights in this video, by the way, that I think are going to be pretty, give you guys a ton of clarification and about this whole thing around cold email, especially in 2024 going forwards. I do consult, and the reason I don't do cold email as a done-for-you service anymore is because I've found that paid ads is basically better. Long story short, it's far more scalable. And it's far more of a better play if you want to scale to 100, 200, 300, 500k per month, right? If you just want to get to 30k per month, then cold email is great. And there are exceptions to this. There's a lot of nuance in this, which I will cover. I will show you examples of people booking hundreds of sales calls per month using cold email, but there are specific criteria that needs to be met. So there's a lot to cover in this video, but if you stick around to the end, you're gonna gain a ton of clarity around cold email. And like I said, there's just so much misinformation out there. So yeah, like I said, I've sent probably over 1 million cold emails at this point for myself and for clients. I've been taught by the best in the industry, so you guys will know people like Cold Email Wizard and the guys at Client Ascension. They rolled out their cold email specialist program, I think maybe this time last year, and or maybe even earlier. And I was actually the first student that got placed in that program. I didn't even get the first job. I actually got all 3 of the first job applications. So I was sort of in there from the beginning, and I've been in other coaching programs, and it's been great. Learned a lot. Part of some great online communities as well, Discord channels. So I'm really tapped into kind of everything that's working right now. I'm also in the referral directory to some of the largest agencies out there when it comes to cold email. So yeah. These are genuine insights, and I'm not just yapping, basically. So firstly, what is cold email? Now, I want to power through this because I feel like the best insights are sort of towards the end of this video. But what is cold email firstly? Well, it's a form of outbound marketing, right? You build a lead list, and you reach out to, using automation, using sending tools, to prospects that are in your niche, have the problem you solve, and are willing to pay you for the solution. This can be done manually, which is kind of more old school, or leveraging automation, which is obviously newer. Now, there is a time and a place for manual, right? Outbound prospecting in general, not just cold email, but just, social DMs. But, and there is a place for high levels of personalization as well. But that usually comes at the expense of your time or your team's time. What automation allows you to do is do the one-to-one messaging, but at scale in quick succession, which basically creates the effect of, the same as a newsletter. You're leveraging automation to just fire out thousands of messages at once to your list. It's the same thing with this. You're just, leveraging this at scale. So this is a mass acquisition system. And that's where cold email really shines, to be honest. I'll get onto this in a second, because there's so much confusion between, should I do personalized? Should I do, the Dream 100 approach, or should I do cold kind of mass acquisition? Now, there is absolutely a place for Dream 100 approach, but it's not going to be unless you have an extremely large deal size and you're going after kind of enterprise contracts, account-based marketing, or you're a complete beginner and you're looking to get your first few clients. So that's kind of a different thing. But mostly, you want to do this at scale, and I'll talk about that in a second. So like I said, average contract value that's in the millions, then personalized is not really the way to go. That's one of the first conclusions, really, isn't it? I'll get on to this in a second, like I said. But how do you actually even think about cold email? Well, cold email is essentially like any form of paid of advertising. What is advertising? It's the process of making known your service or product. And really, I've got a diagram here that perfectly shows how similar cold email is to paid advertising, right? If we just start with this graphic first. So on the top here is paid ads, right? And then on the bottom is cold email. So when you run ads, you're obviously first getting impressions. You're purchasing data when it comes to ads, which is essentially media buying. And with cold email, you're leveraging automation to fire off thousands of messages. So impressions is really the equivalent of emails sent, okay? Now, when a person clicks on your ad and opts in, gives you their lead information, i.e. email, phone number, name, that is them opting in. And the equivalent is if the prospect replies positively to your cold email. So positive response is the equivalent of getting a lead via ads. The booked call is the same, booked call, show up, same thing, deal closed is the same thing, right? So it's pretty much the same. So if we go through the variables that we want to be tracking with cold email, it's literally the same as with paid advertising. It's how many emails per month or per week. That's kind of the same as impressions or CPM, kind of top of funnel ad metrics. Positive reply rate or opt-in rate, calls booked per month and per week, cost per month, which is the same as ad spend, cost per book call or cost per qualified book call, close rate, customers acquired or number of deals closed, average revenue per customer, revenue per month, cost to acquire a customer, which is your CAC or your CPA, cost per acquisition, ROI on the overall marketing channel of cold email, and then gross profit and lifetime gross profit, which is LTVGP. It's obviously Hormozi's favorite thing there. But yeah, that's essentially how you think of cold email. It's simply a form of getting traffic and eyeballs to your funnel, to your conversion mechanisms, and nothing more. It functions in the exact same way as paid advertising. And I want to make a note on direct versus indirect methods of cold emailing now. So essentially in 2024, one of the key insights is a direct angle. So, direct irresistible offer. Hey, we'll do this, or you don't pay in X time frame. Here's our social proof. Still very much works. It's a timeless strategy. However, in order for it to work now, because cold email is becoming a more noisy channel compared to what it was 2-3 years ago, it requires more differentiation, more of a unique mechanism, something that's different about your service, or perhaps a tripwire product, right? So cheaper prices on the front end, and then you kind of retain and upsell the customer on the back end to make up the investment. And of course, you need significant social proof. So the more of this you have, the more unique you are, the more social proof or track record you have, etc., the better the direct angle is going to work for you. That's literally no different to ads. It's literally no different. I imagine LinkedIn is probably exactly the same. This is just the fundamentals of advertising. In general, however, same with ads and same with for most businesses, not all, but for most businesses. Okay, if you don't have a really extensive track record or differentiation, for example, you want to go with, and this is a general rule of thumb anyway, you're not, directly pitching the customer. It's mainly going to be a lead magnet. So you're kind of offering them, would you like a free guide? It's essentially, you're pitching a lead magnet. And you're trying to get that, you're trying to get the lead, essentially. You're optimizing for the lead and for the positive response. And then the job of the cold email is sort of done, and then the leads then need to be nurtured into book calls via long-form sales assets or marketing assets. So this is where your conversion mechanisms like VSLs, webinars, live workshops come into play. And this is also really when newsletters and school communities, Discord communities and YouTube channels really do a lot of the heavy lifting, because you've got the lead in your ecosystem, you've probably added them to your CRM. You now want to, on top of following up with email, you might want to if you have the capacity to do so, you can add them on LinkedIn and run LinkedIn campaigns. You can call them up if you have their phone number. A lot of this depends on the money that you have to invest. So, for example, if with data, if you can afford to spend more on acquiring phone numbers, verified phone numbers, very powerful to dial positive cold email opt-ins. And again, YouTube channel is going to do a lot of heavy lifting here as well in terms of distributing content and nurturing prospects. Booked calls turn into cold closed deals. Obviously, that is your sales process. That's nothing to do with cold email. So you can see each part of the funnel has their specific function, no different from ads, no different from any other acquisition system. The other thing I wanted to say was, blasting tens of thousands cold email is not going to magically book you calls. You do need some strategy. Volume is very important. But it does require a lot of effort. Cold acquisition in general is really, once you crack it, and I made one of the first videos on this channel that I made was, if you can get to 30, 40K per month in your agency only purely with cold acquisition, with cold email, cold out, LinkedIn, whatever it is, ads, you are in a far stronger position than if you were to get even to 100K plus per month using referrals, because that's how powerful cold acquisition is. If you measure, how much you're spending on a cold email system or a paid ad system, and you can measure, okay, we spent this amount and we've got this amount, we collected this amount in cash or in revenue this month, you've now got a system to buy clients, which is extremely powerful, right? That's one of the first videos that I made in the channel. You can check that out. It's literally called, why 40K per month with direct is better than 100K per month with referrals. I should probably start linking my other content on these videos. I'm still trying to dial this YouTube channel in. So anyway, the next super important concept I want to cover is this whole thing around, well, does cold email even work? And firstly, obviously it does. But I want to talk about the scale at which cold email can be done if you have the strategy and the know-how and specifically the data behind you. So, like with all forms of marketing, the first thing I'll say is if it hasn't worked for you, it's probably because you're doing it wrong and it's a skill issue. Like with most things in business, it's not that this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and this all feeds into the horseshit that's being propelled with these clickbait YouTube videos. And obviously I know that this might be a little clickbait, but I like to think that my content is actually coming from a good place, whereas a lot of people are just trying to ship another biz op, right? Oh, you shouldn't do this, you should do this instead. It's just another biz op that they're trying to sell you on. It's never a question, like with advertising, it's never a question of if it works, it's a question of how well it works, how effective it is. And if it's not working for you, there are things that are missing in your system that you're not doing correctly. So cold email is one of the best ways to acquire customers for B2B still to this day. It's just that the technical complexity that comes with managing 50, 100, 200 email accounts obviously gets more and more. And, without ending up in spam or, keeping on top of deliverability does become an increasing skill set that's needed to stay on top of that. The point that I wanted to get across with this slide is the largest and most successful B2B companies in the world do run cold email with serious volume. And I want to show you a real world example of a guy that I actually jumped on a call with. This was sort of this time last year, and I'm going to keep his name anonymous, but it was essentially a guy who had a B2B SaaS company, very high level marketer. You could tell, straight from when I got on the call with him. And this guy, I'll break down his numbers here. I'm not making any of this up. Obviously, I recorded the sales call, and that was one of the immediate things that stood out to me. Obviously, I screenshotted those numbers. Obviously, for confidentiality reasons, I'm not going to say who it is or what the company is. The guy had 1,000 email accounts. 1,000 email accounts sending cold emails for him. 30,000 emails being sent per day whilst optimizing for gold standard deliverability. 900,000 emails per month. Email to call booking ratio at 0.15%. Now, this might seem low, but I want to cover another really, really important point here, which is that so many people are trying to optimize for fancy things, get a nice positive positive response rate or reply rate that they can flex on social media. But I mean, look at this guy. Like this is how it's done, right? If you want to do cold email properly, you do it at scale. and it doesn't really matter. What matters isn't the upstream metrics, it's the bottom line. The only thing that matters is how much are you spending and how much are you making in cash. And that's kind of the way that a high-level business owner thinks with all of this. So I will cover more of that in a second. But yeah, you can see the booking rate is low, but that doesn't even matter because he's booking 1,350 calls per month, which is absolutely nuts. So you can see these are big boy numbers. Close rate 20%, which is standard. Getting 260 new customers every month, which is wild. But anyway, let's fast forward to here. Cost per book call, $9. I mean, that's wild, right? $9 for a cost for a qualified book call, and $60, $58 cost per acquisition, which is actually nuts. ROIs over 10,000%, gross profit over almost $1 million. Take home after CAC has been, which is sales commission plus cold email cost, $700,000 per month. That's just cold email, so it's kind of crazy. And like I said, these are real numbers. Obviously, for confidentiality reasons, I'm not going to, show you guys who that is or, whatnot. Great learning experience for me, though. And hopefully for you, if you're watching this. The next really important thing I wanted to cover, which I mentioned in this previous slide, is looking good versus being good. And this is really relevant for it's business in general, but particularly in acquisition, of which cold email is no different. So I've got 2 campaign results here. These are my campaigns. Which one do you think booked more calls? So the first slide here, first image looks more impressive, right? We've got a 12% reply rate and 56% positive reply here on this campaign, 22% positive reply, 30% positive reply on this campaign. And that's because it was a bit more personalized, a bit more targeted, right? But none of that matters because no one gives a shit about your positive response rate, to be honest. Like it's just a newbie who wants to flex, who even cares about that stuff. The only thing that matters here is the bottom, which you can see that really not. You can see the number of emails sent is way more, and really not very impressive metrics here at all, right? Reply rate, positive reply rate, really nothing crazy. But which campaign do you think booked more calls, right? So that's what I'm getting at. Obviously, these email campaigns booked a lot more calls for me, and that's because the only thing you should be optimizing for is for booked calls, and more than that, clients signed, right? Because it's not even the campaign that books the most calls, it's the campaign that signs the most qualified clients that you care about. The only thing you should be caring about is your LTV and your CAC. So, well, in this case, your CAC. So how much are you actually spending, right? So it doesn't matter if you have 500 email accounts. If you're spending, less than that if you're spending, let's say $1,000 or however much those 500 email accounts would cost you, but from that, you're booking enough calls and closing enough deals where you're getting a massive ROI, then who cares how many email accounts you have? Who cares how much you're spending on software, right? That's the whole point. That's the way that a high-level marketer or a CMO type skill set would think about all of this. It's you're running multiple acquisitions. You're seeing which one is scalable. You're seeing what the kind of ROI is on each scalable outbound channel. So in this case, this guy actually told me he was running Facebook ads as well, but switched Facebook ads off because he had enough runway with cold email. So yeah, difference between looking good and being good, guys. Now, gonna move on to pros and cons of cold email. Obviously, the pros, you might have already kind of gathered what they might be. The ROI that you can potentially get from compared to paid advertising is far superior if one's messaging is cracked. It's scalable and it's predictable revenue. It's private, meaning your competitors can't spy on your emails like with paid ads. Obviously, with paid ads, it's a massive issue that people are just copy and pasting other people's ads and et cetera, which means you can only really compete on the back end. But for the most part, cold email is private, right? Because it's one-to-one private communication at scale. Outbound channels are systems, meaning, there's a heavy reliance on automation, AI, SOPs, standard operating procedures, affordable labor nowadays as well. So this basically increases your enterprise value, increases your company valuation as it mitigates risk for any investor, anyone who might be looking to buy your company as well. It's the most timeless and stable outbound marketing channel bar none. Cold calling and calling centers are cool, but they are pretty inefficient, to be honest, compared to cold email. Nowadays, we have AI, we have better data scraping software, we have, just better tools all around when it comes to sending cold email at scale, and it will never go out of fashion, right? I can't tell you the number of people that piss me off when it comes to this, when it comes to, is it, there's deliverability issues nowadays. Now Google's cracking down. It's all just noise. It's all, just naivety or ignorance, like with anything. So yeah, I've summed that up here in this graphic. Superior ROI, predictable, private, heavily systemized, timeless, increases enterprise value. Now the cons though, this is basically why I ended up switching my main service that I do for clients for ads, to be ads primarily. And that's really the last thing that I mentioned here. Now, there is a technical setup and complexity, but that can be overcome with, consulting or with, putting some effort in, basically. Nowadays, there's so many good resources out there. It is more crowded than it used to be. It used to be kind of more of a novel acquisition system. There's a lot of guys who were ripping cold email 2021, 2022 who were doing insanely well. Now it's way, way more crowded. And due to this reason, there's been an ever increasing gold standard when it comes to cold email in terms of keeping up with skill set. But the real kicker for me, and this is why I personally switched, is it's not scalable for every niche and every offer, right? Basically, it's not scalable for most local business niches. And the reason for that is data. There's not enough data that you can acquire at a reasonable price for verified decision-making emails. And if you're going after dentists or lawyers or any type of, roofing, like any type of local business, you're really going to struggle to collect enough data for cold email to do enough damage. Because in my opinion, if you've got less than 30,000 leads to work with, it's not even worth running cold email at all. And I'll say this because I know a lot of good cold email agencies. Most of the good cold email agencies out there, they're not going to be able to book you more than 7 to 25 calls per month. These are the good ones, by the way. Now that's fine if you want to stay as a small business, but if you want to scale beyond this, basically you need ads. And I would say that if you're doing at least 10K per month, just get straight onto ads. Learn the skill set. Learn how to run ads. Learning how to run ads is actually more simple than cold email. Like cold email is a harder skill set. There's more moving pieces compared to paid ads, right? With paid ads, as long as you have a strategy and a funnel that works and you understand basic copywriting principles, and there's a learning curve. There's always a learning curve to everything, but with cold email, I feel like there's even more, because there's stuff around deliverability and there's more kind of manual labor that goes into it. For example, managing ad campaigns is way more streamlined than reading data manually and inbox managing as well efficiently. I'll be making plenty of guides, by the way, on how I automate 95%, almost 99% actually of my inbox management at scale. I currently have 200 email inboxes that I'm running for my own acquisition. I'll be making loads of guides on cold email for sure. I just wanted to start off with this one right here on the state of cold email in 2024. But yeah, my advice is to get onto ads. Now, don't get me wrong, like 7 to 25 book calls is really good. And right now I'm only booking like 10 to 20 calls myself per month. But so it gives you that peace of mind. 100%. I think it's a fantastic base. But for most businesses, right, unless you are like on this level, on this guy's level here. And by the way, they have an inbuilt AI data platform in-house that allows them to scrape hundreds of thousands of leads. Their TAM is colossal, right? It's so there are, data really is the thing that will restrict you from getting to this scale, which is the case for most high ticket coaches and businesses. Like if you're doing less than 10 mil a year, you're not going to be playing cold email at this level. So that's kind of my take on cold email agencies and really the cons and why I decided to switch. So really quickly, what is the high level cadence? I'm almost done here, guys. Just, if you are interested in running cold email, I'll be making tons of guides on this, but what's the high level cadence? How does it actually work? So it's the same with ads, right? You have to arrive at an initial hypothesis and go-to-market strategy. You've got to identify who you're going after, what your ICP or ideal client profile is. You then scrape that data, right? You want to make sure you can actually scrape this data. And like I said, this is the main bottleneck with all of these things. With cold email, particularly, like the amount of data that you can scrape of verified decision maker emails is always going to be the limiting factor with cold email, both in terms of cost and also logistical complexity. You want to set up a burner domain, so you never email from your main domain. You always set up burner domains, lookalike domains, we call them. You start warming up those domains because you never, same with ad campaigns, you always want to run engagement, empty shell campaigns before you run your main campaign. Standard compliance stuff, warm up your domains. Then you build, before you build your lead lists, you want to actually write your cold email scripts first, because you want to write the cold email scripts for a specific person, right? You're speaking to a specific person, and therefore you need to know who you're speaking to before you go and scrape that data and build that lead list. Then you actually go and build the lead list. You want to know who you're going after. You're not going after personal emails, business email only. You don't want to. You want to be mindful of spam laws, depending on which country you're in, and you never want to answer personal emails. So cold email is B2B only. It's not for B2C. It's not. You can't be hitting people's personal emails up. You'll get wrecked pretty quickly if you do that at scale. You want to familiarize with the cold email KPIs and numbers, like I said. You also want to understand the sales cycle, and understand the length of sales cycle can be reduced by if you're doing multiple acquisition channels at once. For example, you're running paid ads, you're doing content marketing, your success with cold email is going to be exponentially higher as well. You want to look at campaign data, exactly the same with ads. You want to look at campaign data after 1 to 2 weeks, cut the losses. So there's a testing phase and there's a scaling phase. This works exactly the same way as with paid ads. And there's an inbox management as well. And like with all sales data, B2B acquisition channels, time to lead is very important. So the quicker you respond to positive leads, the more chance they have of booking in with you. And if you get back to them, half an hour later, the chances of them booking on just falls down a cliff. So this is just a graphic that I have for that. So you got your initial go-to-market hypothesis, who are you targeting, etc., etc. Is it going to be a profitable market segment for you? Ensure that that data is scrapable and you can get verified decision maker emails. You want to set up burner domains and emails this is basically your system setup. You want to then write the copy, then build the lead lists. You want to make sure you're familiar with deliverability checklists. Inbox management then is when you start getting responses. You need to have a process for sorting your responses out, tagging them properly, arranging them properly. I'll be making videos on all of these steps as we go on. And then, you bolster your overall marketing, means you put out content marketing, you run ads, and all of this kind of feeds into each other. And then it's, like I said, the same with paid ads, data analysis and iteration. So there's a testing phase and there's a scaling phase. Tech stack. Okay, there's a last slide, I feel. No, it's not. It's okay. Closing thoughts as well. So there's so many insights here, but another massive thing that I've learned is it's always better to keep it simple. There are so many videos out there. Oh, this is how you can, a new cool way to scrape this and scrape that and use these kind of bots and how to, it's mostly horse shit again, because you're not taking into account the end goal, which is if you want to book, if you really want to scale your business and book a significant amount of sales calls, you want to be doing this at scale, and you want to have a simple, streamlined process for data aggregation and sending emails. So if you've got this whole complex waterfall enrichment process, unless that's completely automated through custom scripts, and there are a couple of beast cold email guys in the space who do this, and some real legit people, but mostly it's horse shit, and all these fancy things are just not even worth looking at. It's just hype on social media and Twitter. It's mostly BS and shiny objects that get you to opt into their funnel or newsletter, right? Oh, I found this new way to scrape Instagram. It doesn't matter. It's literally irrelevant. Domains, you want to get your domains from GoDaddy, Porkbun, Cloudflare. Obviously, Google Domains used to be the one, but now Squarespace have taken over. So these are a one-time cost. They're going to be about $6-7 per domain, I think. Email addresses, Google and Outlook are obviously the main ones. It's going to be about $6-7 per account. Although if you're interested, guys, like there are a few people knocking around that can get you Outlook and Google accounts, email accounts for $2 per month or less. This is what I use. I can hook you up with them if you want. And most of the cold email guys that are really plugged in have all these they know how to cut corners, basically. Obviously all of this is legit. Email sending tool, you don't want to use Instantly because SmartLead is better. So smartlead.ai is the best for sure. Just because they have an awesome team. They're constantly rolling out new features. The master inbox is amazing. They have subsequences. They have AI features. They have the full kind of gold standard when it comes to just making cold email super easy to run at scale. When it comes to scraping leads, again, you want to keep this simple. I honestly think there are three ways to do this. You either pay a VA team, like a scraper team in India, Bangladesh, to do it for you. You use Apollo. You use LinkedIn. Sorry, this is going to be like 5. I'm going to group the second into this. So there's Apollo, there's LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and there's listkit.io more recently. Listkit.io is a little bit, I think, slightly more expensive, but it's a very streamlined platform, probably the most friendly to use. And this is probably outdated by now. I think they've made their prices even cheaper and more affordable, but Listkit in general it's a great software to use, and it's very easy as well if you're looking to get started, because it automatically integrates with SmartLead and it just makes the whole process a lot more streamlined. There's a bit of source here for you guys if you want to learn. I'll put out a video on this. If you want to scrape Apollo.io for very cheap, without the need for a pro plan, you can do so using this website called aleads.co. I think I scraped over 100,000 leads, which was basically my entire market, for a few $100s. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And yeah, in general, guys, though, if you want to run cold email at scale, if you want a ton of domains, if you want a ton of email addresses, your SmartLead, of course, like the more emails that you send, the more you're going to pay. You're going to be spending more than $1,000 a month easy, if you actually want to run cold email at any level of scale. So all these guys that you see, it only takes $100, $200, $300. It's that they're not really running cold email at scale. So and because of that, they're not actually booking calls. Like I said, with scraping leads, you can use all these like crazy like new softwares. You can go on AppSumo and look at all these fancy deals, but none of it really, it's all just a distraction, to be honest, just shiny objects. I would not DIY the lead scraping process. Either pay someone to do it or just use a software like listkit.io or aleads.co that makes the process far more simple, and just focus on actually writing your campaigns and booking calls. And actually running and maintaining your campaigns. So that's that. Burner domains, emails, SmartLead, Listkit. I need to update that as well because of the recent deliverability changes. But yeah, closing thoughts on cold email. Cold email is a great offer to sell as a beginner agency, and because of this reason, there's something that you should watch out for. You don't want to get trapped as an agency looking for a cold email service provider, because a lot of these guys are beginners and they don't have the skill set, the wider marketing skill set, to actually make cold email work. And so it's a bit of a tricky one. It's far better to go for a more established person, just bear in mind that with cold email, it's far better to just run ads most of the time, unless you're happy with 10, 20 calls a month. If you're trying to scale and you're a large agency, you're looking for 50 calls or 100 calls per month, far better to go for paid ads. And also to push out a lot of content. So essentially a high-level marketer that knows the game is always going to favor running everything, right? So anyone in general who says, content is overrated, cold email is overrated, outbound's overrated, ads are overrated, they're just wrong, because what you should be doing is all of them. and you should be optimizing to find a scalable appointment booking channel for your business, for your industry. The only thing you should be optimizing is for ROI and getting the lowest CAC for your LTV compared to your LTV. Now, sometimes this is cold email, as with the case with the above B2B SaaS example, but for most people, it's going to be paid ads due to greater guaranteed reach and just a much easier time scaling. Because, like I said, every business owner on the planet is on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube if you want to run YouTube ads, but I personally think Meta is better for acquisition. Outbound prospecting in general, of which cold email is bread and butter, is the most optimal way to validate your offer. If you do have enough data, it's the most cost effective. However, if you want to scale, paid ads is the king, forever will be the king of paid, king of scale, unless of course you're on this guy's level, which I haven't personally met anyone in real life who is at this level, of course, but that is sort of the end game when it comes to cold email, right? But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was insightful. Again, all of this is raw, authentic, coming from my personal experience, guys. So I am going to be putting out a lot of cold email trainings on this, but like I said, I don't do cold email as a done for you service anymore. It's just because I'm passionate about it and I do consult, so it's not like I don't have a direct incentive to push cold email. I have got current cold email clients that I'm consulting for. And, if you do want 10, 20 book calls per month through cold email and you're targeting sort of not local businesses, you're targeting online companies like e-commerce, you're targeting B2B SaaS, you're targeting other agencies, coaching businesses, other kind of online service providers, and you have at least a TAM of 30,000 leads that can be scraped with cold email. And if you're not sure, just ask me. You can message me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Then cold email is a fantastic acquisition system. Anyone who says otherwise is chatting shit and doesn't know what they're talking about. I hope this provided a lot of clarity for you guys, and see you in the next one.